What's going on, YouTube? Back with another little book review, man. I read this one pretty quick. This is The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. And I'm going to just sit right here, get my thumbnail. Take a little screenshot of that later. But yeah, man, The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. Why deflation is the key to an abundant future. I got this book from Wealth Squad Chris. He has this list of books, like 6 books that he always posts when people ask him like what he reads or like what his favorite books are to like learn about money and stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It's a short read, like 208 pages. I want to say. Let's see. Yeah, 208 pages, and I just want to walk through some of the key principles of things I got out of this book. Things that really stood out to me. So, and these are in no particular order. I was just, the first couple of ones are, but then I just kind of like filled them back in after I finished the book because I was just getting into it. But first, he brings up the point of how technology deflates prices. So naturally, technology brings the price of things down. So if you think about when the first cell phone came out or the first computer and things like that, how they were like really like physically big and actually like really like monetarily expensive. But as the technology got better and like the scale of them grew, like, back when computers first came out, you probably had to be rich or this big business or whatever else to have like just a personal computer. But now it's like everybody has, like right now I have 2 computers. I have 2 laptops in my phone. That's another computer. Or like, for example, like when phones first came out, like they were really big and like expensive to have and they cost a lot of money to use. But as time goes on, the innovation of that technology drives the prices of these things down and makes them more accessible to people, right? And he says, he brings that up because naturally, if that's the case, if technology is moving into all of these different areas and industries in our lives, then the price of things should naturally come down and it should become cheaper to live. But things don't become cheaper to live because the way that our monetary system works here in America, like our economy grows based on consumerism and debt. So we have to take on more and more debt for our economy to grow. And that's kind of how things work. So they won't really allow prices of things to come down. That's why inflation has to be a thing, because that's what makes our economy grow. Right? So, so he brings up that point. He says another thing. He said tech companies today benefit from the network effect. So if you think of things like, if you think of services like Facebook, you think of things like Google. That's good. Think of things like Google. The network effect basically states that the more people that use a product or service, the more value it has. Like the same thing with like a cell phone. If you're the only person in the world with a cell phone, then it doesn't really have that much value because you're the only one with one. But the more people have one, the more people have an email address, the more people have a Facebook account, the more valuable that particular service becomes because more people are using it to transfer information and things like that. So that's basically what the network effect is. When things, the more people use something, the more valuable that particular service or product is. Another thing he says, he talks about is the aggregation of supply in one place that takes away the cost of holding that supply. So if you think, so an example is, if you think about Amazon versus, something like, Walmart, right? So Amazon benefits from the aggregation of having all of these different suppliers come to one place, right? So they aggregate the supply, but they don't necessarily have to hold the majority of the products that they have, right? A lot of them are coming from third-party places, and they're just using Amazon as the medium to get in front of your face. So that's what gives Amazon a lot of value versus somebody like Walmart, who is limited by shelf space. And they're digitizing things more now and expanding their online platform. But Amazon was the first one to really pioneer that because in the beginning, Walmart was beating out all of these other stores because they had all of these products at such low prices. But the thing that was limited them was shelf space. Like no matter how big the department store is, you can only have so many products in the store. Versus Amazon, which is like 100% online, you can have an infinite number of products and services. Let's go. Sit. Sorry, I'm my dog. So yeah. He says now that any platform today, any platform company is a data company. So again, Google, Meta, well, YouTube is a part of Google now. So you have your Metas, you have your Amazons, you have, like I said, your Googles, you know, your Oracles, you have ServiceNow, you have CrowdStrike. You know, these are platforms, right? And he says these are data companies because moving into the age of AI, the person with the most data is gonna win that monopoly, right? They're gonna be the most powerful person, the one who has the most data, because data is like the new gold. You know what you're thinking, what I'm thinking, what he likes, what she likes. That's the thing to have nowadays. So if you have a platform and you're collecting data on the people, it's gonna help you better serve your customer on your platform. So if you have if you're Facebook, you have Instagram, or the actual well, if you're a Meta, you have Facebook and Instagram, right? The more data you collect on the people using your services, the better people can use that data to target them with ads, or you can put the next funny video in their face that they're gonna like to keep them on your platform longer and things like that. Or if you're a CrowdStrike, the more data you collect on your customers, the better you can help, you know what I'm saying, protect their systems and things like that. So yeah, man, platform companies today are really data companies. That's really the thing that they need. They need data. I skipped that one. Another thing he points out is that with all of the problems that we have today in the world, and this is something that was consistent with the last book I read, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. He also harps on the fact that no matter what the group you identify with in today, and that could be anything. You could college student / vegan / basketball player / mother of 2 kids / Netflix user / whatever. You can identify with a lot of different groups. Your religion, you know, but at the end of the day, a lot of the problems that we have on a large scale today, be it global warming or like things of that nature, we have to collaborate as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Like society, like with globalization and how connected we are, and the things that we have at scale, the whole world, every country has to work together to solve a lot of these problems. Like even though, like I said, we might live over here or over there or identify as this or that, we're all still one big society with the same problems at hand, in a sense. So, yeah. Debt is how our economy grows. I kind of hit that one already from the beginning. He also talks about how when I think it was Nixon, I could be wrong, but when Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard, how that pretty much like fucked everybody, because the United States dollar is the reserve currency of the world. And this kind of helped me understand like what's going on today with like the politics of like why people don't want to use the dollar anymore. So with the dollar being backed by gold and every other currency being backed by the dollar, every other country was indirectly backed by gold, right? But if you take the dollar off of the gold standard and eliminate that medium of exchange, then that gives the United States the power to manipulate the economy of the world. Because if you can print as many US dollars as you want and you don't have anything to back it, you can effectively devalue all the other currencies in the world as well. So that's why you see other countries like the BRICS and all of that, or like other countries trying to, trade directly between the two of them instead of, using the US dollar, because the US dollar is becoming less and less and less valuable as time goes on. and that has a negative effect on everybody else as well. So that's kind of why you see in the world today in the politics why people are saying going against the dollar now, because they kind of see it as the United States is weaponizing the dollar. You know, I keep looking at my do-rag. I just gotta look kind of weird. But yeah, so that's that. Yeah. So another thing he talks about is how so with AI there comes the possibility of job loss, and with every new technology, even like in the industrial revolution, where initially a lot of jobs were eliminated, but in the long run it created a lot of jobs for people. He was saying this time that might not necessarily be the case, because any job that a person does is a function of their intelligence, being able to take in information, deduce, and make a decision and solve a problem, right? And if you look at it from that standpoint, a computer can do the same thing. And with AI and all of this data being collected, continuously feeding these algorithms and the AI learning on itself and learning on itself, it'll come a certain point where computers might be able to do every job better than humans, right? And even though he says that a lot of them might be general AI, meaning that like they won't be able to transfer knowledge from one domain to the other and connect dots between things. Like I can drive a car and type of paper, right? AI might not be able to do both of those things, but you can have an AI for type of papers and an AI for driving cars. So with that, he was saying AI really might not give a lot of jobs back, because why would you? And he said it'll be a lot cheaper. So, and he gave the example of like a doctor. You can have like an AI doctor, right? And in the beginning, yeah, it makes sense to have a person working in synchrony with the AI. But after a while, the AI will just you'll correct it so much and it'll learn so much that it really won't need the person, and it'll be more accurate than like an actual person would, and it'll be less expensive because you won't have to pay that AI the same way that you pay a doctor. And he asked a question, it was like, if you were a patient, would you want the more expensive option that still has the possibility of misdiagnosing you, or do you want the more accurate thing that's cheaper? So, something to think about. He also talks about how inequality creates like a us versus them mindset, and that's one of the biggest problems that we have in the world today, where people feeling like they're less than, and especially with social media, with you being able to, and this is something I'm adding in, but I feel like it's enhanced with social media, you being able to see the things that you don't have and see the things that other people are doing, and you feeling like, the hard work you're putting in is being enjoyed by other people, and things like that, and that just kind of creates a resentment within people, like this the struggle for scarce resources and things of that nature. And he also, the last thing that I'm gonna talk about is he brings up the concept of creative destruction, and he was saying basically how in the birth of something new, like a new company or something, it destroys something else. You know what I'm saying? Like Netflix was creative destruction. Netflix was created and it destroyed Blockbuster. You know what I'm saying? Amazon was created and it destroyed Toys R Us. Things like that. So, yeah, man, obviously there's a lot of other things in the book that he talks about, but those were the things that kind of stood out to me. I feel like this is a great book, a great read. Talks a lot about money as well, and like how that process works, how our economy works, and how the global affairs work with the monetary system with tariffs and this, that, and the third, and how trading is a zero sum game and things like that. Like if I trade with you and you buy something, if I give you a product, as if I'm the United States and you're China and you sell something to me, it's a zero sum game because that import and export has to be equal. If you sell me $5 worth of stuff and I give you $5, that's still a zero sum. So You lost $5 of money, but I lost $5 of money, but I gained $5 worth of materials, and you lost $5 worth of materials or products or whatever, but you gained $5 in actual money. So he talks about stuff like that too, and he talks about how he really goes into depth about how the way our economy works, like the current debt situation, is really just unsustainable. And he talks about a couple of the solutions to that, whether that be less spending, which probably won't happen because the system needs spending for it to keep going. And that's crazy. That's the crazy part about it. The system needs debt, and it needs people to keep spending money for it to keep being a viable thing. Or you can do like higher taxes on the rich, which will evenly more distribute the wealth, but that's not a really popular option, so that probably won't happen at all. And then he also talks about how if people say, oh, well, we need to have a base level standard of living and have people like basically have everybody on like a sense of welfare, basically. But they said that'll be kind of hard to determine, like, okay, what's basic needs for living and stuff like that. So he just talks about how that probably isn't viable either. And he talks about how crypto and Bitcoin might be the answer to that. So, like I said, man, great book, The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. Go read that. Facts.